Magical place.
It's a very nostalgic sound that brings memories and entire culture with it.
There would be times that we would have just as many people gathered in front of the stage watching us play. Got larger, and then all of a sudden it started diminishing. The crowd changed. The last few times that they did have a Kef, it really didn't happen.
This is a shot from our Las Vegas show at the Flamingo, 1966, January, 13 months without a break. It broke the record on the Strip. They had a big write-up about it. I have some other pictures somewhere. This is the original Kef Time band. I guess this is someplace back east we're playing. I can't remember, but that's everyone that was in it is there.
Well, I was always taught that Kef means party or fun. So when it's time to have fun, it's Kef time.
We were young, we were energetic. I enjoyed his playing and he enjoyed my playing, and it motivated us.
I love to dance. I would get up from the first dance and dance all night long and hate it when the last dance happened.
That was the thing to do. You would play music, you would sing, you would dance, you would celebrate it.
The phrase Kef Time really began after my grandfather's group, the Kef Time Band, produced their albums. After that, they start hosting a bunch of events. Kef Time Hartford, Kef Time Detroit, Kef Time Las Vegas, Kef Time Los Angeles, Kef Time Fresno. We're not hosting as many events as we used to. And one of the biggest events were Kef Time. I think they were actually one of the most important for our people because it was a social event where Armenians met other Armenians. So that's where the inspiration to host Kef Time Fresno came from. This will be our dance area. Pretty big. Renovated the stage. They cut up about 6 feet off the front of it. And the church spent good money in renovating the hall, putting in new lights, flooring,
I do remember him talking about it, and I was a little skeptical myself, thinking, well, I don't know, do you think the community cares anymore? Do you think they really want to hear that? And he said, oh, I know they do, but, you know, I've played weddings and events for the last 20 years, and I've seen the declining interest, so I said, well, you can try it. Let's see what happens.
I grew up in a traditional Armenian family, but it was a musically gifted family, and there was music 24/7.
True Hagopian here.
Did you tell him?
Yes.
Did you understand?
Did you?
Do you know what song?
Were we able to perform them at such a young age? We thought we were in our heads, but in reality what was coming out was a bunch of noise. It wasn't till maybe we were a little older that we started putting it together. We had the skills, but it wasn't coordinated. And we received formal training through my grandfather. I grew up with my grandfather, Richard Hagopian, being my grandfather. I always saw him part of the band, but in my head, I didn't see him as this big legend as everyone else saw him in our community. And I realized that when I became older.
I can remember from the time I was basically born, really enjoying the music. Throughout the day, I would listen to my grandfather's records with the Kef Time band regularly, almost on a daily basis. It was just something that intrigued me. See how I was doing that? It's not loud. It's not heavy-handed.
It's special to be able to maintain and preserve the music that our forefathers brought to this country when they came here. This is a traditional type of music that is different than what you'll hear in most Armenian venues now.
The grandkids, Andrew and Phillip, they were just little. I'd sit them on stage and they'd have a tambourine or something and they'd just play along and eventually they got it.
We would sit in with the band. We loved it so much that we wouldn't even get up to use the restroom for a song. We wanted to play every song with the band.
And it wasn't just the Armenian music. The Bee Gees were very big in this household, believe it or not. Who can relate? We had a lot of classical in this. We had 10 years, 12 years of classical music growing up. Early in the morning when they were getting ready for school, one would turn on classical music, the other one would turn on Kef Time. And it would go louder as it went And I got to the point where one morning I just said, you know what? I said, no more of this. There won't be any more music when you guys are getting ready for school.
My grandfather is a very big resource for me. He remembers a lot of things, he witnessed a lot of things. He has 84 years of experience and stories to tell. And those stories are really important because they tell a lot about our community, how it was founded, how it grew after the genocide.
This music, we didn't compose it here. This was the music that my grandparents and my father, who went through the genocide, this was the music that they were used to, and they brought it. And they'd sing with it and dance. Once in a while, there'd be a sad song that would relate to the genocide. They'd even cry or take the phonograph record off.
When we talk about Armenian culture, or anything that is Armenian, unfortunately, we have to go back to the genocide.
Those who survive it, I don't know how they survived it, emotionally and mentally. To me, how they made it without understanding PTSD, not going to psychiatrists and psychologists, but just working, just creating their community over again, creating families, is a tremendous eye-opener, and I'm in awe of how they did that.
A lot of Armenians, they took the Continental Railroad down and they landed in Fresno. They said, this is perfect, this is heaven.
The agriculture, the beautiful mountains in the background, the similarity perhaps in climate, all of those things were a place of opportunity, and that's what Armenians needed after the genocide.
They opened up marketplaces and coffee houses and nightclubs, and that was Armenian Town in Fresno.
So Fresno really was the locus of the Armenian population.
I was lucky because in Fresno, there were a lot of musicians from different areas. And I learned with the people that came from the old country.
Richard had this remarkable opportunity and privilege of having these dynamic musicians all around him. You know, from this older generation, these creators of culture that imparted on him the importance of Armenian music. This is this early generation creating something and a foundation of the community. Because for decades, this is a song and a voice of the people.
The first memories of music in my life started from when I was a small child. We used to have family gatherings and community gatherings in our house, and musicians were always coming to our house. Of course, there were always community events, picnics, and festivals. The families were always involved. They always came with their children. They came with their grandparents. They all sat together, ate together. It was an experience where the Armenians really had a chance to get to know all the other people in their community and have a sense of Armenianism. It's changed a lot in the last 30 years. We had that first generation of Armenians that came to Fresno and settled. They got married, had children, and their children grew up in a different culture.
The second generation, they were told by their parents to become more American. Many of them were not spoken to in Armenian so that they would learn English and succeed that way.
Because the Armenians were discriminated against in Fresno so bad, they were obsessed with being an American.
So I knew that I was going to be moving away to the East Coast, and I didn't think that I was going to major in piano performance until I was about 16 years old. I got accepted to Peabody. I was really excited by the notion of working with the teacher that I was accepted to work with.
He used to sit in and play with me, but all of a sudden, I think it was the last picnic and he was going to go to Baltimore. And I called and I said, bring your oud so you play. I said, this might be the last time that we can play together. Grandpa, I'm not playing that music anymore, he said. And To be truthful, I was sort of, hurt a little bit because I knew he really loved it.
In my outlook about culture in general is not very encouraging as far as Armenian culture goes, because the language is sort of dissipating very slowly. So you have a major problem there. And also, I really honestly don't believe that diasporas last forever. Look at every single diaspora that we had. We had a huge Armenian community in India. Disappeared, nothing left from it.
Trying to figure out why we have this decline. If it was with the generations.
First of all, generations are busier. Kef Time, we were still dealing with the original, some first generation people from the old country were coming. Those people are all gone.
During our time, more of the people understood the music. More of the people understood the lyrics. I think the audience had a deeper appreciation because they knew the music, they knew the words and everything else. They would be able to compare it to first generation musicians.
In the early 90s, I heard Richard saying, you know, probably we won't have another one for a while. There really is no Kef Time Fresno on an annual basis, hasn't been for decades.
So when he told me the idea, I said, I don't know. I said, I'm afraid for you. You're going to lose money on this deal.
Well, just showing. Are you sure this is 5? Right, yes. That one's the first one. You know what are all your two-base? Just put them all on and then hit it and we'll see. If we stop playing the music tomorrow, there's no record of us anymore. You know, this is a part of our culture. It's an aspect. You know, we need as much stuff to claim as our culture so that we can say, this is what an Armenian is. We have a unique identity. I remember when you came back and the first time you picked up the oud in a while in your room. I never knew why you picked it back up. It was just something I did. I missed the community and being a part of that community because it wasn't available to me in Baltimore. And that's when I realized how important the music and the community were to me.
He just all of a sudden picked up the oud, closed the piano, and he said, I'm back home. I'm doing what I want to do.
When my brother came up to me with the idea and said, you know, I think we should have a Kef, and I want 350 people to be there, I looked at him and I was like, well, you can give it a shot. I hope I hope, you know, the numbers will be there to support that sort of event, but, you know, I'm not sure because I don't know if our generation has the same appreciation for the music that we play that previous generations did.
Put it back on, take the wire off, put it back on.
How do you feel? Are you nervous about the show at all?
No, not at all. I think everything will go fine. Looking forward to it. I think people will enjoy themselves. The dinner is going to be phenomenal, and I think it's going to be a night people will remember. And hopefully they'll return.
Here's my buddy. gentlemen, and welcome to Kef Time Ferendo. I would like to thank all of you who have traveled far and wide to join us for Kef Time Ferendo. All the way from Massachusetts, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Nevada, as well as those from Southern California and Northern California.
Both doing the same thing, dancing, talking, laughing, still after all those years.
It's amazing. Kef Time is the best time. I have faith in us because I know, like, no matter what, no matter all the forces that try to erase us, right? Like, this is, you see it, it's our life, and we'll never let it die.
I think it's great that the kids have taken it upon themselves to not have it go by the wayside. I mean, who knows? It still might, but I think it's great that they're trying to hold on to that music.
The big thing is it's going to give another generation or two this same traditional music, which is almost teetering on the edge of going.
I'm happy that it is being carried on. Whether it stays that way in the next 50 years, who knows? But let's hope that at least some people care enough to continue to listen to it and preserve it.
Today they're getting to be on their own. It's fade out time for Grandpa and it's fade in time for that generation. When I'm gone, I'll still be here, musically,